Welcome to the Savvy Woman Show. I'm Catherine Magaña, a certified financial planner with Savvy Woman Wealth Management, where we're dedicated to financial education for women. The Savvy Woman Show is about teaching you about money and real-life situations. We've interviewed female advocates, entrepreneurs, and much more. Today we have a special guest with us, Lauren Liberman, who's an associate attorney. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you became an attorney?
Sure. So I actually never planned on becoming an attorney. Okay. I originally, my whole life, I wanted to be in the arena of psychology. I got a bachelor's degree in psychology. Had planned on going to school and continuing that education, but I graduated undergrad in 2008, which was not the best time for finding jobs, and basically ended up just starting to go, well, maybe I should go back to school, what's my next step, and ended up just looking into different programs that I might be interested in at that point. I should backtrack and say that I had wanted to get a job in the area of psychology prior to going on to school, so that was the hiccup. So at that point, I found the paralegal program at the University of San Diego, and they offered an accelerated program. So it was quick. They had an internship with it, and you got some education and some experience. From there, I got my first job, which I was a paralegal for a few years in a criminal defense civil litigation firm, and then eventually started to get kind of antsy because I'd always wanted to go back to school to get another degree, and at that point realized the most logical next step was to go to law school. So I studied for the LSATs and applied and just kind of saw where it took me.
So did you originally think you were going to get into family law, or to kind of evolve into that? Or
I was always interested in family law, just because of my interest in psychology, and then also having the legal background. It seemed like the two areas to me in family law overlapped, because in family law you deal a lot with people's emotions. We do have a fair amount of our clients or others that are dealing with mental illness or addictions or different things that can impact a case.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's probably so many different dynamics too, and there's change, and there's kids, and there's so many moving parts. So I think having that background is probably a benefit to your clients.
Absolutely. So that's the way I see it, at least. So I was always where I wanted to the area I wanted to get into, but from there I also knew it was hard to get jobs following law school, so I was open to some other areas, but I'm happy that I landed where I did.
So do you feel internships are critical for somebody maybe getting into law? It's important to maybe go down that path and kind of get a feel for...
I think it's a really great idea, just because it's information gathering. It is allowing you as a person to kind of determine which area is something you're interested in versus not. Rather than wasting your time and ending up getting a job, it's probably kind of difficult to change areas of law once you get kind of into one area. It's not like it's not possible, but it is more difficult. So, having an idea of what you're interested in and getting a feel for different areas, I think, is always a good idea.
So tell me about, do you see any current trends or any changes kind of in family law? And
it's always changing and evolving. The more cases that go up on appeal and different laws that get enacted impact things, and that's always going on for every area of law. But family law, in particular, we had some tax changes that were implemented as of the 1st of this year, and that's having an effect on some of our cases specifically related to spousal support. And it's kind of, we don't know where that's going with the courts at this point because it hasn't really played out yet. And in terms of trends, I can't really speak too much else. I know we've had a lot more people lately that seem like they're really trying to be more cost conscious about their divorce. Of course, this isn't every case, but we've had a lot more people who are trying to avoid the litigation side of things. The
idea is it can be peaceful, but
not every case can be,
So can you share with us a little bit about, do you see any differences with working with men or women, or some similarities, and just obviously we
there's, in terms of how a case plays out specifically with the court, I can't say that there's any differences. The judges don't look at anything like that. One thing I will say that comes up a lot, and this is a little bit your area, is men tend to be a little more tuned into the financial side of things when we do have the male client, not in every case, but they tend to be able to provide statements for different accounts and know what the investments are or not, and just taxes and everything. And that's not to say every woman that comes through our office is that way. We've had very organized women come through who have spreadsheets of everything. You know, I'm impressed by their organization. But, you know, we do have a lot of women who did just let their husbands or partner deal with the finances and don't have any clue of what's going on or where to.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we do a lot of our Savvy Woman series and education, because we want any type of transition, whether it be death or divorce or retirement, we want to make sure that women are informed and educated.
Absolutely.
So it's not, you know, we on our other end, it's not uncommon for us to see that too.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about, you know, is there any big obstacle in your career or life that you've experienced so far that maybe you want to share with us?
Well, I've had my share of things over the past couple of years. In my personal life, my father passed away a couple of years ago, which just in terms of life in general, I think kind of altered my view of the world and just perspective-wise, and, you know, just having an unexpected change and loss. And you know, I've had loss before, but also in some ways I feel like I can relate to my clients a little bit better in terms of that grief and loss of an unexpected change or an expected one, you know, where you're dealing with that. And most recently, actually, this last year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and went through 5 months of chemotherapy, had a double mastectomy, and I'm going through the reconstruction process, so that has impacted my career and daily life, dealing with all of that, and again has kind of changed some perspectives about.
Seems like you've grown up a lot. I've had a lot of experience the last few years, and I just, you know, you look great, and I'm just so happy that you're on the path to recovery. And obviously, you probably look at things a lot differently.
Absolutely.
You know, going through some of these. So,
absolutely.
Obviously, you're. Like I said, you're up and coming in your career. You're a really dynamic person that I'm getting to know. But I think that you know, it's an inspiration for other women that are going through transitions. So,
I appreciate that.
So, how do you manage then, kind of work and balancing life? I mean, what are some things that you like to do that?
You know, it's a tough balance that is very important to me, and I'm lucky enough that I do work at a firm where they understand that work-life balance and allow me to take the steps back when I need to. But it is difficult because, you know, being an attorney doesn't just require going to the office every day. There's other things that are required, and so trying to balance that with also having my own life and identity outside of that is difficult. You know, in my personal time, you know, my health and fitness has obviously become much more a big priority for me than it has been historically, you know, so that's something else I'm trying to balance with everything. You know, I like doing yoga, I like hiking, which in this rainy weather we've had lately has, you know, been difficult. You know, it's just planning is all I can say in terms of how I try to balance it all. Is I really try to keep my calendar organized and know where I am when, and kind of pre-plan for I need to go to the grocery store this day. If I don't do it, I'm not going to make it, and you know, different things like that is.
I think planning and organizing and, like I said, running a calendar is definitely important.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice do you recommend for somebody that maybe is thinking about going through divorce?
Sure. I think the most important thing I could offer anyone is just education. There's plenty of law firms that offer a free consultation, or buying an hour of somebody's time, I think is, you just need to get the information if you're even thinking about a divorce, because there's a lot of things that you can do to protect yourself at the outset before a petition even gets filed or served, such as, you know, organizing financial documents, making sure you know what's out there, meeting with potentially a financial planner to kind of walk through what possibilities you might be looking at should you proceed with a divorce, and you know, just meeting with an attorney to get an idea of what kind of issues might come up and what you might be facing, and different tactics and how much you might be looking at to spend in different whatever direction you may take, whether it's a settlement, whether it's going through mediation, whether it's litigation, all of that. It's the best thing I think you can do anywhere in life is to get educated so that you can make informed decisions. Yeah.
So I thought I'd take a few moments and talk a little bit about kind of financial planning and lifestyle planning. And it's interesting because what we find is sometimes people come to us when an event just happened, whether it be divorce or retirement, and often a lot of people when they're going through a transition don't know where to begin. And so, once again, not only educating, but having a process and helping kind of discuss some of those financial topics or goals. And sometimes when you have a transition in your life, it's taking that time to think about what's important to you. So one of the things that we do as we consult with some of our female clients that are going through transition, some of the things that we do are we help look at expenses and income that's coming in. We review investments, Social Security. We look at what's your priority? Do you need to get your kids through college? Do you need to plan for your retirement? Or also your home. Home's a big thing for a lot of people going through transition. And those are some big financial decisions that have to be made, and sometimes the emotions get tied in with that.
Sure.
So just know, obviously, when you're working with your attorneys, they handle all the matters, but when it comes to the financial side and your life and kind of getting to the next phase, that's something that we help a lot of our clients. We also have a YouTube channel called, you can find it at savvyup.tv. And on there we have a divorce roundtable where we've had some women that have shared their experiences in going through divorce and kind of life after divorce. So those are some resources for you. So maybe if you want to share how people can our viewers can contact you, if you have a phone number or an email or something.
Sure, absolutely. If you don't mind, I'd like to piggyback off of what you just said prior to that.
Okay.
It's something in terms of looking at what your budget is and houses and all of that. We regularly tell our clients it's important to meet with a financial planner when going through a divorce, no matter which end of it you're on, whether you're the one who has the money or doesn't. But it's very important to set your goals for what you want in the divorce, and having realistic goals is very important. So whether or not it's realistic to keep the house, whether or not you can afford it, what is your income going to look like, what amount of spousal support do you have, and all of that, where someone like yourself could help somebody really get that path. And once you have more of a realistic idea, that's where we can help you achieve those goals, versus not having that education or information. There may be some things that just aren't really going to accomplish what people may not end up where they're expecting to end up at the outset. So it's important to have that information and guidance.
Well, thank you, Lauren, for sharing your story. And obviously, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and you are an inspiration to all the up-and-coming women out there. So thank you for
thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So every show we want to leave you with a quote. Today we have a quote from Carol Burnett. "Only I can change my life, no one can do it for me." So only I can change my life, no one can do it for me. Well, this concludes our Savvy Woman Show, and we appreciate you being with us here today. And remember, knowledge is power. For successful investing, never stop learning, and savvy up. Today we have with us Lauren Liberman, who's with...
This is like becoming the blooper reel from Will and Grace.
You are getting crushed today.
Take a breath, Catherine. We're fine. Do you want me to
I call you Lauren? I call you Lauren.
It's okay.